Welcome to American Building. I'm your host, Atif Kader. Join me as we explore the skylines and strip malls, the crosswalks and rail crossings, the balconies, the buildings, and the boroughs shaping the next generation of real estate. Let's build common ground. Today's guest is Michael Kirchmann, founder and CEO of GDSNY. Born in South Africa, Michael began his career as an architect and later joined Skidmore, Owings & Merrill in New York in 1997, where he served as a design director. After completing the Masters in Real Estate Development program at NYU, he launched GDSNY in 2007. He taught at Columbia in the Masters of Real Estate Development program and has lectured at Harvard, the Architectural Association in London, Penn, and NYU. So GDSNY is a multidisciplinary New York-based real estate company, and it's known for design-led, ground-up, and renovation developments, as well as architecture, asset management, and they provide commercial real estate debt. The firm has delivered roughly $6.5 billion in assets. Today, we'll focus on the Met Tower, a historic Manhattan high-rise that GDSNY is repositioning for a new generation of tenants. So thank you so much for being here with us, Michael.
You're welcome.
So let's start off from the beginning, as we usually do. So you trained as an architect and then worked in real estate internships to get your feet wet in that arena. So how did that dual background shape your early view of real estate development?
So it actually started a lot earlier than that. I actually grew up in South Africa. My father was a real estate developer and my mother was an interior designer. So I kind of grew up in that environment, going after school to the job site and helping both my parents in various guises. But for me, architecture was a way to kind of get into the real estate profession with the specific skills that I had. So that was a good vehicle for me to really start that. And whilst I did do some real estate asset management type internships in the 90s, it was actually working with a guy called Howard Ronson where I got most of my training in development itself. Howard Ronson was one of the most prolific developers in New York City in the 1980s. And in the 90s, he went to Europe and started a business. At that time, David Childs from SOM had sent me over to Paris to work with Howard and see what kind of projects he was doing. And, long story short, I ended up working with Howard for 10 years. We did 20 plus ground up and renovated Class A office buildings. And I was very lucky to be able to be alongside him on a daily basis, meeting with lawyers, meeting with banks, more importantly, doing the architecture and the construction as well. So I kind of got a great introduction over an extended period of time and over many assets on exactly how it's done.
What were some of your favorite projects that he worked on in Europe?
I think probably my singular favorite one was a project called Porte de la Défense, which was a ground-up office building just outside of Paris, which was ultimately taken by Oracle and became their headquarters in Paris. But we did some pretty cool projects over there. Defense Plaza, which was a tower in La Défense. We did 111 Buckingham Palace Road in London. So there were a lot of very interesting projects and great tenants along the way.
So you are a person with multi-continents of living experience in Africa, Europe, and North America. You made that move, like you mentioned, from South Africa, Cape Town, to New York to join SOM. What was that transition like for you?
I would say, in a word, exhilarating. At the time, in coming to New York City, SOM were going through some changes and were making some very major changes in the way that they were approaching design. It was a time when SOM was really rebranding itself. There was a design partner there called Roger Duffy who was really mixing things up and getting SOM back to its roots. SOM has an incredible history, especially in sort of mid-century modern. Some of the great buildings like Lever House, for example, which is one of my favorite buildings in the world. But it was a fantastic time to be an architect, in the late 90s, early 2000s at SOM, because there was this real change that was happening at that time. And there was a real focus on creating great products and great design. So it was an incredible experience having moved to New York and had the opportunity to work with Roger Duffy and some of the other designers at SM at the time. So what was very interesting, working with Howard Ronson, he was my main client for very many years. And we went through a process of, even though we built 20 buildings, but we probably underwrote 120 buildings. So we went through a very systematic approach of, how to break down a building, how to analyze it, how to come up with a floor plan that worked well, how to innovate what was there in either a ground up format or renovation. But we learned and kind of taught ourselves and the team over a period of time to go through a very systematic and pragmatic design process where we were designing each of these buildings from the inside out to create these perfect floor plans, for prospective future tenants. And we had a great team that we put together as well. We were working with Cosentini, the MEP engineers, and we were working with great lighting designers and collaborating with contractors. So all these kind of methodologies, very pragmatic and systematic methodologies, we've maintained those through our practice as well.
Amazing. And then you complemented your experience in working as a designer for a developer by then pursuing a master's in real estate. So talk to me about what you learned there and how that led to starting your firm in New York.
So it was an interesting turn for me. So coming from an architectural background and participating in a lot of great projects and ground up projects, in particular in Europe and the Middle East, I had a lot of building experience, but I did not have a lot of finance experience.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as architects, we like to think that the development process is about architecture. It's actually mostly about finance and about capital stacks and putting together LPs and putting together, construction finance. So, that's a very important component to any developer's process. So I needed to go back to NYU to really enhance and sharpen those finance skills that I'd begun to, learn over the period of time. And finance is a completely different language with a different vocabulary, and one can pick it up over time, but you supercharge that learning process by going back to a school like NYU.
Great. And then did you go to NYU with that specific idea in mind that I'm starting the firm after?
Yeah, so I think my intention, again, growing up with parents who were developers and designers, I think my intention was always to be in development.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came to New York, I had an opportunity clearly with SOM, and that opportunity then led to another opportunity with me working with Howard. And, after 10 years in that position, I kind of woke up one day and decided it was time to pursue what I really wanted to do, which was development. And fortunately, I had then by that time gathered a lot of experience and a fantastic set of relationships with people in the industry. So it was always the intention to start the company and to go into development itself. So going through NYU was a natural part of that progression in order to round out the skills that I knew that I needed.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then as you're getting started the firm, you're developing your own perspective on development, what you want to focus on. So what is the mission of GDSNY, and has it changed over time?
So I think if there's one common thread that really ties everything together is that we're always looking to create and enhance exceptional real estate. If you look at any of our properties around the city, whether they are, ground up developments, whether they're renovations, or even to some extent the work that we do on the lending side, we always try to take whatever asset that may be and create something fantastic. We always look towards companies like Apple, who create these beautiful products. Apple has a market share in terms of consumer products. Samsung and others also create similar products. And in most cases, those products are actually better in terms of technology. Like Samsung phones and cameras are generally better than Apple. But people nevertheless buy Apple. And, what we deduce from that is it's because of the design and, people's natural instinct towards great design. Even if they don't necessarily have a design eye themselves, there is a natural inclination towards products and art and this type of thing that intrinsically has great design, and people feel compelled to actually reach out and enjoy that design. So similarly with our projects and the products that we create, we try to foreground design as a real differentiator in terms of creating those products, and then in turn using that differentiation in the design to appeal to our tenants, to our buyers, whether we're doing leasing office space or selling condos. And I think that has really played out well and successfully. If you look at our tenants, for example, 1245 Broadway, we have tenants, our anchor tenant there is A24 Films. This was a great tenant for us because we felt that we had a real parallel with A24 Films in that, A24 are not the biggest company in the world, but they make beautiful films that are based on incredible scripts. And it's the focus on the script and the delivery in production that really makes A24 Films special. And for us, it's kind of the same thing. And that's why we were excited about that parallel when we signed A24, is that, we try to make great scripts and we try to deliver, really thoughtful projects. And I think that, like A24 Films and their recognition in the film industry, I think people recognize GDSNY as a different type of development company that creates exceptional opportunities and products when it comes to buildings and real estate.
So you mentioned a team, and that's necessary in order to build out all the different capacities at your firm. So tell me about the core team that you built at GDSNY to deliver on that mission you described.
Yeah, so during my time working with Howard Ronson from around about 1997, at the time when he moved to Paris, there was a handful of people around him, myself included, and there were a couple of other guys, one of which was a guy by the name of Alan Rudikoff. Alan was a similar age to me. He was helping Howard with all the financing, all the structuring, the deck structuring, etc., the construction finance on all the projects. So Alan and I remained in contact for very many years. We continued to do projects together, and then finally we teamed up to form GDSNY. So as a key component to this, we often talk about this very complementary partnership that we have, where he's very much focused on the finance and structuring component of the business and is extremely strong at that, and is well known for that. And then myself, as sort of the counterbalance, focused on product design, leasing, obviously design and construction. So it's a really powerful combination of people who have different but complementary skills. And then beyond that, we've, over the last 18 years, we've built a great team. Most people have been with us for, 15 years plus, if not the full, some people have been with us since the beginning. I think that what sets us apart in very many ways is the team is a team of very experienced people. depending on which area of expertise they're in, whether it's project management, whether it's in asset management, acquisitions, each and every person on our team of 18, has a lot of deep relationships within New York and a lot of experience building and asset managing real estate.
So that team effort was necessary in order to deliver on the project that we're focusing on today, which is the Met Tower. So the Met Tower, it's a mixed-use office and residential tower located in the Plaza District in Manhattan, and was originally designed by Slice Architects. We're going to focus on the office portion. So when you first assessed the building, what struck you about its condition, configuration, and potential?
So a few things. When one comes to a building, it's a whole sequencing of experiences, starting with you come off the street, you go into the lobby, you then go up to the reception desk where there's a form of interaction there. You then run through to the elevators and up to your space. So the first thing that was very clear to us on this particular asset was the lobby hadn't been renovated in probably 25 years. And the lobby was particularly dark. All the materials were black. There was a sort of blue illuminated LED box that was the reception desk, using lighting technology that was 25 years old. So it was the whole lobby was very, very tired and really in need of a complete gut renovation. The other component was, in today's leasing market, you really do need to provide amenities to your office building. And we see office buildings in today's market like 5-star hotels. We run our projects like 5-star hotels. Most of our people on our front desk are former head concierges from the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton. So, there's a very important component of your first impressions of the property, but also your first impressions of the people within the property.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, along the same lines of you get what you pay for, we hired SOM to redesign the lobby, to create a new restaurant, to create a members-only club, which would be the amenity in the lower level, and to renovate the plaza on 56th Street. Similarly, we think the best interior designers in terms of office space in New York City is Fogarty Finger. Mm-hmm. So we actually hired Fogarty Finger as well to design our pre-builts, which they have done on our other two office assets at 28 and 7 and 1245 Broadway. Both those projects are 100% leased. So the pre-builts, we've developed a pre-built language for GDSNY with Fogarty Finger over the last, 5 years, let's say. So we hired Fogarty Finger. They designed the pre-builts, which have gone very well. We did 2 pre-builts, one for the 16th floor and one for the 5th floor.
Who are the tenants for this?
So the 16th floor is available. The 5th floor is leased to Bayview Asset Management.
Okay.
But I think, coming back to the idea of product design, and, we see real estate as just a very large product, but nonetheless, it should go through the same processes as product design. Our office interiors are very recognizable. We have this particular style where we use a lot of curved glass. From our time where we build condos, we bring a lot of that specification of condos into our office space as well. So you get that really sort of hospitality, almost residential, high-end feel. And our firm also has a great attention to detail. So we have, several in-house architects who are on site every day and are really nitpicking all the details within the fit outs. There's no exposed mechanicals. We don't expose ducts. Everything is done to a very high level. Again, almost as if you're in a high-end residential condo, in Chelsea or something, or in Soho.
So,
yeah. So what's been interesting is our pre-builts, the vision that we have for the lobby, the vision that we have for the amenities. All that is actually under construction at the moment. But in the meantime, we've been able to leverage the design vision and the improvements in the design to go from a building that was, call it a net 20% leased when we took over 15 months ago, to we're about 84% leased today. And we have 2 floors left to bring us to 100%. So it's been a very successful project so far.
Congratulations. It's a big lift to be able to get there. So in your underwriting, what were the opportunities and the risks that you identified, especially around things like absorption, given the softness of the office market?
So what's very interesting is, as I'm sure you've probably heard from some of your previous guests, is that in certain parts of Manhattan, the office leasing market is probably as strong as it's ever been in history, and no more so than Park Avenue and the Plaza District. So if you look at One Vanderbilt, 425 Park Avenue, and some of the ground up or newer office buildings, the new high quality Class A office buildings are all fetching north of $200 per square foot. In some cases, some of the upper floors at 425 Park and One Vanderbilt are actually north of $300 per square foot. A few years ago, these kind of numbers would have been unbelievable in this market or in any market, but the Plaza District today has those kind of target rents, and they're getting those rents, and there's very little availability for new product in the Plaza District. So the opportunity for us was, if we can create a product that could somewhat compete with those extremely high-end, new high bars in office,
Mm-hmm.
then and we could make the rents much more affordable. We could offer a very attractive product. So for us, for example, it's a brand new lobby, brand new amenities, private club. It's the brand new plaza, brand new pre-built to extremely high quality, and you can get all that for under $90 a foot. So if you compare, $85, $90 to $220, which is pretty much an average price per square foot rent in the Plaza District now, it's fantastic value for tenants looking for space in that same area.
That's a very nice opportunity that you're providing for your tenants. So did you consider a residential conversion at all? Because that's a common thing that is often spoken of about office buildings in New York.
So Met Tower is actually a condo, which is broken up into a commercial condo, mm-hmm. which is what we have with the office space. It's about 276,000 square feet. And then above it, there are 200 plus residential condominiums. The way that the building is structured in its condo configuration is that the lower portion remains commercial. So we did not consider a residential conversion for this, for that reason on the one hand, but also on the other hand, we saw a great opportunity for a gap in the market to be able to provide very high-end finished office space where there is no real product in the market.
So speaking of tenants, you mentioned earlier Bayview Asset Management as one of the tenants that signed leases. Who are the tenants that you are targeting, and what demand signals are you seeing in the market from those types of tenants?
So this is a very interesting question, because the market has changed considerably and many times over the last few years. Obviously, with COVID, there was a complete paradigm shift. That was really a black swan effect that event that really changed the leasing market, immeasurably. As we went through COVID, there was a work from home sort of paradigm that lasted a long time. And then, call it a year or so ago, some people call it the Jamie Dimon effect, where we, called people back to the office, mandated that people return. And I think that mandate had a knock-on effect where, as an employer, once your competitors start to come back to the office and start to collaborate person to person and in the same room, and you start to see a strength from that collaboration, it forces your competition to come back as well. I mean, I saw this in the investment sales brokerage firms, even early into COVID, where the brokerage teams that were coming back and working as a team together in conference rooms were leaps ahead of the teams that were trying to work
fully remote.
So there's some businesses that just it's not possible to be competitive in that environment, and that's continued to really prove itself out. Office environments themselves have changed for the better, I think, where employers are actually using offices as a tool to bring people back and employees back to the office, providing them lunch, providing them amenities, in this case, a private lounge, a private club. So we're really targeting employers or tenants who are making a lot of effort to create environments for their employees that nurtures the return to office, and as such also nurtures, great relationships with their mentors, because you can't really mentor people over Zoom. And, it's important to be at the office, to be involved real time in deals. So I think employers recognize this strong trend as kind of the new norm. Mm-hmm. And so, providing cafeterias, lounges, casual meeting areas, this is all a critical part now of where the office leasing market is. So coming back to then the product side, we are designing our products to be able to meet that market. And even in our pre-built and built to suits, building great cafeterias and great meeting areas within tenant space as well has become probably the most critical part of any discussion that we're having with tenants on the nature of their fit out for their company.
So it's that full experience for the employees in order to keep their employers happy, and then keep them happy as tenants then.
Yeah. And what's interesting as well is that, the tenant base is changing in New York City as well, whereas 5-10 years ago, it was very much finance and legal. Today, there's tremendous growth in AI firms, fintech, crypto. These are very sophisticated companies that are extremely well capitalized. It's amazing to see how young some of these firms are. People in their 20s, some of them haven't even left school, and they're raising $100 million, with 80 employees. So it's a very exciting time right now in the tenant landlord business, where the whole notion of who your tenant is evolving almost on a weekly basis, and attracting those types of tenants has become very exciting, because it plays again into the design, it plays into the product, and what kind of spaces you can provide that are going to be interesting to these types of new young companies that are really well capitalized and are making great money and going places.
Walk us through the experience for your tenants as they approach the building, go through the lobby, go upstairs. You highlighted a lot of the areas that you focused your attention on in terms of the experience. So what is it like? Give us like a visual of what that is.
So I stayed in the Ace Hotel in Kyoto in June of last year. Mm-hmm. And that was a very inspiring experience. The lobby was had an incredible vibe. The tactile materiality of the lobby was great. There were people working, there were people discussing things, there was there was a lot of food and beverage. It was a very relaxed and warm and welcoming environment. And in looking at Met Tower and just how stark the existing lobby was, we wanted to do something that was completely the opposite and create this very similar sort of Ace Hotel type experience where, you feel that same specialness of being in the building. So we wanted to replace the sort of black, shiny tile with the blue LED, illuminated box with natural materials, warm color, lots of plants. We're adding in 2 new restaurants. Obviously, we have the members lounge. So the whole experience at Met Tower is geared towards really feeling like a boutique hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And when the lobby is finished in a few months' time, you're going to be able to walk in. You're going to feel that stark difference between what was there before and what is there now, which will be, silver travertine, marble, a lot of millwork, and warm oaks. Great quality furniture. That's another important component to this is, you can't be cheap on furniture. You have to actually, people notice that kind of thing. People notice hardware. People notice flooring. So it's going to feel like a boutique hotel, and you're going to come through. The service is going to be completely different. We're offering a lot of other types of services in the building. So that's really the main big difference that you'll see for people in particular who remember the building that was there before. It's going to be an incredible transformation.
So you mentioned the Ace Hotel Kyoto, and that was also a renovation. So it was originally the Kyoto Central Telephone Office, and that was designed by Tetsuro Yoshida. And the renovation that you were referring to as your inspiration, checking out the visuals. So really beautiful woods, black, white, very cleanly done. That was by Kengo Kuma and Commune Design in LA. So for anyone that was curious about that reference, there you go. So I want to ask you about a bigger picture. So you had mentioned that there's some areas of Manhattan that are doing well in terms of office rents. There are certain parts of the city that will likely never return to the level they were before the pandemic. Pressure on cap rates. There's pressure on interest rates to make deals work. So I want to talk about real estate debt. You're a little unusual as a developer because division or business line within your company focus on real estate debt. So the current market's complicated. How do you see the debt market today, and where do you see capital coming from for lending on projects like the Met Tower?
Yes, if we focus on the office industry for this question, I think because office is very interesting. It's been a difficult road for the last few years for developers and landlords and land and office owners. There hasn't been a lot of debt finance available for office spaces. There's been a lot of need for it. But as the office market has been sort of ill-defined over the past few years, debt providers have been a little hesitant to get into the market.
Mm-hmm.
What's been great for us, though, over the last 4 or 5 years is because we are developers of office buildings, we build office buildings, we lease office buildings, we asset manage them. For us, being in the debt market was a great opportunity because we were able to identify which assets out there in the New York City office market were actually worth taking a bet on. And if something would go wrong, during any part of that loan, we had the ability to to help the borrower out with construction or leasing or asset management. So it gave us an opportunity to really cherry pick great assets, and as a result, we put debt out on several office buildings, 40 Crosby, 580 Broadway, 76 8th Avenue, etc. Who, all of which now are 100% leased, all of which are in, triple A locations with great sponsors. So it's been a great opportunity for us. Now, what's happened over the last couple of years is that a lot of the B note players that were in the space actually have become A note players. Even companies like Madison Realty Capital have now really focused squarely on A note, and they've raised fairly a lot of money to be able to support that. So there are fewer and fewer.
Just to clarify for listeners, by A note you mean the senior loan, right?
Yeah, so the A note is the senior loan. That would be your low leverage, 45 to 55% LTV type loan, and those players are generally the Main Street banks, the large investment companies, the private equity funds, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, etc. The B note is the piece, the more risky, high leverage piece. So for us, we'll probably go to 75% loan to value on a particular asset. Although it's not really the loan to value that we look for, it's more of a basis for us. But it's been a difficult, in today's market, there are plenty of players for the senior finance, but not very many players for the B note. So for us, we see a great opportunity to continue to provide finance for landlords and office developers in that part of the capital stack. So, our debt platform, we have a separate business for that called GDS Brightstar, where we provide senior finance, mezz, pref equity, rescue capital. I think what sets us apart from some of our competitors in this particular region is, we're very creative in terms of structuring ideas and structuring workouts, solving any particular structural problems. By structural, I mean, CAC stack structural, solving any particular structural problem and looking for great solutions on how to turn an asset around, putting the right amount of money into the asset to improve its overall value and sellability. And again, we understand construction. We know how to underwrite and evaluate the work that needs to be completed. We know what time frames to expect for construction, for leasing times. If we're doing residential condos, we know who all the great sales brokers are. We use them. If it's a rental property, likewise, we know who the star brokers are for rentals, and we employ those relationships that we have.
So it allows you to take the skill set, the sense of market needs, and then the relationships to be able to correct any issues with an asset. So it's a nice set of skills that you're able to port over to help a borrower in that situation as well.
Yeah, and I think our borrowers have seen over the years that we bring a lot of value add to the process as well. We've saved tens of millions of dollars in construction costs for our borrowers by helping them renegotiate subcontractor pricing, for example, because we're in the construction business and we work with a lot of the subcontractors and the GCs. We have the ability to leverage our relationships as well to go in with our borrower alongside them if they want our help, and help to renegotiate some of these contracts that they may have, renegotiate management contracts. So we've ended up saving tens of millions of dollars on behalf of our borrowers, which is a great value add that really costs them nothing extra.
So when a loan needs restructuring, that's one potential path when you have a loan. What are the key elements of a successful workout, both from your perspective and from the borrower's perspective?
So what's interesting is probably our main source of deal flow on the debt side are the banks, are the senior lenders with the A notes.
Okay.
And we're approached by them in many cases because they would like to have us in the cap stack. It serves as an insurance policy for everybody involved in the deal, because we're sitting in the B note behind the borrower. Again, we have the ability to complete construction, lease up, sell condo units, whatever the case may be. So, in particular with difficult projects that have, complicated structures and there's a lot of hair on a particular deal, banks will come to us specifically and seek out our help in finding a creative financing solution, but then implementing that creative financing solution creatively within the actual asset itself and the physicality of the asset itself. So in many cases, banks will come to us with a problem, a defaulted borrower, problematic asset. Maybe it's a combination of both. And then we will approach that problem from two sides, both from the financial and structuring side, as well as the physical asset side, and then help the borrower in some cases alongside the lender as well, come to some sort of solution through a structured process.
Got it. And for any developers and lenders that are listening, what would you say the suggestions or the practical steps are that they can take to help prevent them from being in a situation where they will need a workout and hopefully be able to preserve their upside in what is a relatively frothy environment for office?
So I would say that one thing that I always like to say to people is that real estate is not just about the buildings. In fact, it's more so about the people. And it's the people that are designing the projects, building the projects, financing the projects, very much so about the people who are servicing the projects once they're up and running, the hospitality that's offered in any particular building. So I think going into any kind of development or any renovation or any sort of asset management, the best practical way to protect yourself is to make sure that you're surrounded by a great team of professionals who can continue to evaluate the product, your consumer, whatever service you're offering to the market, and then continually reevaluate what's happening with your particular asset, so you could try to stave off issues and problems down the road.
So the best thing to be able to address a situation where it's problematic is to prevent the problem from existing in the first place. And the key to that is the relationships.
And that's exactly right. So I was going to say, even if the problem has presented itself, it's your relationships that are going to help you for the most part to actually get out of those. And it's a relationship that you build up over, in my case, 30 years. That, if you have a great group of relationships that you can draw on when you are hitting a difficult patch, that's what's really going to help you. And obviously each individual asset and each problem is different. So that's why my answer is so esoteric and broad. But within that construct, almost any problem can be solved with the right relationships and the right amount of creative thinking for that particular problem.
That makes a ton of sense. And I would say that the bigger picture idea is that's essentially the thought process that, or the experience that you had when you were looking at those first parts of the inspiration to become a developer. It was the relationships with your family. And as you transitioned to start your own business, it was that relationship that you had and trust that you developed with your your colleagues at SOM, and then with Howard Ronson, your client. So even across the path of your own career, those relationships are the ones that allow you to move from one point to the other in your career.
I mean, the relationships I built up at SOM were, invaluable to me later on. They all very top shelf, all the attorneys, the consultants, the designers, all those relationships were grown and begun during my SOM days in the late 90s and early 2000s.
And you mentioned earlier that SOM is one of the designers on a project for you, right?
So some of the design partners there I knew as interns back in the 90s, and today we use SOM a lot. SOM Design 1245 Broadway, SOM Design 28 and 7, and they're doing all the public spaces at Met Tower as well and the plaza.
Excellent. So in terms of an ask, so you have a very interesting platform we talked about in terms of the debt. So you are active in workouts and opportunistic repositionings for debt for office. So what kind of opportunities are you looking for now, and how can folks that want to reach out to you, how can they best reach out to you about those types of products you have?
Yeah, so again, we're looking at the two primary businesses that we have. One is the equity side, which is development, where we are very active now in looking at new acquisitions, looking to do JVs with existing property owners. That's a great business line of ours as well. Existing property owners who are looking to improve and enhance their asset values, but perhaps they don't have immediate liquidity. So in that case, we can actually bring in all the go forward capital for our JV partners, and we're looking on the debt side as well for if you're a landowner or property owner looking for some sort of special situations, rescue capital, or even just a B note or some MES or some pref equity. We're very creative. We're very flexible. We can recognize great assets, and we're enthusiastic about real estate in general in New York City. So we're always very excited to get stuck in, and we love to be collaborative and creative with great partners.
Amazing. So folks can reach out by email to studio@gdsny.com. Right. And that's it for today. So I really appreciate your time, Michael, for coming here and joining us on the American Building podcast.
And I would say one more thing is you can also probably the best place to see our work is on Instagram at GDSNY. We are relatively we're pretty good at updating those with projects and images and projects in progress. So it's a great place to see what we do on a daily basis, and the website as well, GDSNY.com, is kept up to date pretty vigilantly as well. So you can see our products and projects there.
Excellent. Thank you for that information, Michael.
You're welcome.
I'm Atif Kader, and thanks for joining me on American Building. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe on your favorite listening app and leave a rating and review. America's housing crisis is one of our greatest challenges, but what are the real solutions? Hear from the developers and other industry experts driving meaningful change. Get our exclusive guide, Housing in America, 8 Ways We Can Solve Our Way Out of a Crisis, at AmericanBuildingPodcast.com.